A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another book review today, so cheers. Before I get started, I just want to apologize for my voice. Last week, I went and had medical tests done and they gave me an endoscopy, and now for some reason I have been projectile vomiting, which just happened before I sat down to record this video, which is why my throat is a bit scratchy, because I'm tasting nothing but stomach bile, which is always a good thing. But enough of that. That's fucking bullshit. Today, I am bringing you book 3 in the Firemane Saga by Raymond Feist. That is Master of Furies. Now, I've had this book for a little while, and I took this vacation period to read and review it, primarily because of the new Raymond Feist book that has been released, which I believe is this one, book 1 in the Dragon War Saga, A Darkness Returns. I received this a couple of weeks ago, and this is the one that kind of links his Firemane Saga to the Rift War stuff. So you've got Garn, like the world of Garn, kind of combined with Midkemia and Kellerwan as well. This I will be reading and reviewing, of course. But Master of Furies. Now, this is a very interesting book, in as much as I don't want to say it's not good, because I really did enjoy it, but it really falls short as a third book in a trilogy. There are parts of this book that go nowhere. There are parts of this book that build up to something big, which I am sure we are going to get in the next series, of course. But ultimately, there is little to no payoff for the time that the reader has invested in the trilogy itself, in the Firemane Saga. Now, I am not saying I didn't enjoy the book. I really did. I'm not saying the book is badly written. It's not. What I am saying is that if you are new to Raymond Feist, the Firemane Saga is probably not the best place to jump into his writing. Your best bet would be to go back to the original Rift War Saga, Magician, Silverthorn, and Darkness at Sethenon, and work your way through the books. What Master of Furies does is it promises a lot, but it actually gives very little to the reader. Now, I'll go into more details in the second part of this book review, but I just want you to know that even though I found a lot of this book lacking, I did enjoy it, and Raymond Feist is still my favorite fantasy author of all time. So what the fuck am I talking about? Well, to put it briefly, without any spoilers, the trilogy has been leading up. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, go back and watch King of Ashes and Queen of Storms, and then you'll get an understanding of where the story is going. But Master of Furies builds up the main villain, which is a bit of a bait and switch, because we're kind of led to believe it's one thing, and then it's not. When you get to book 3, you find it's something else, but then it's not. And then there is an ultimate evil. You see on the back of the book, it says, an ancient darkness and evil from a distant world lies waiting. what does that evil from a distant world end up doing? Just keeps on waiting, I guess. Pardon me. Okay, so we have the main villains of this piece. They appear in the opening prologue of the novel, and then I think in maybe 2 chapters for the rest of the book. We have our heroes kind of dealing with the grief of losing family. Declan has lost his wife and his apprentice and his apprentice's fiancée. And the Baron, Jumar, now king, lost his family at the end of the last book, his second wife and all of his children, and they're out for revenge. Does that revenge pay off? Not a fucking bit. No one grows in this book except for maybe Hatu, who is learning his new powers, which are pretty cool, but kind of feel a bit like a Deus Ex Machina scenario here. But ultimately, you come away from this book lacking closure, and then it ends on one of those kind of cliffhanger endings where you're like, fuck, now I've got to get the next book, which is A Darkness Returns, in order to find out what's going to happen, because he's linking this series with his other series, and blah, blah, blah. It's frustrating. I understand that. For new readers, it'll be frustrating. For those of you that have put in time with Raymond E. Feist, that have been there from the beginning, that know the characters of Pug and Tomas and all of these other people, Talon and all these people over this huge, wide range of books, you're going to enjoy this, especially the little kind of homages that come from the beginning of the book to characters that you find in the other Rift War kind of series. But to a new reader, it's not going to make a lick of fucking sense, and it's just going to be an unfulfilling ending. I just want you to be aware of that. Okay. With that said, I'm going to move into a little bit of a spoiler-filled review of Master of Furies, just to kind of let you know where the story goes and why I liked it, but at the same time, why I actually disliked it a little bit too. So, let's go right into the next episode of...
Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. People.
Okay. So we find out that the true villains are the Pride Lords that rule the island of Naitani. Now, they are kind of the opposite to the Hidden Masters of Colchatan that we've seen through the first 2 books, in as much as they rule by fear and they rule by spreading rumors about the power that they have at their fingertips, namely these people called the Azante, who are supposed to be these like mega assassins, which in actual fact they're not. It's all fucking lies and bullshit. The Pride Lords are this group of tribes that there are 5 ruling tribes and then these lesser tribes, and it's kind of like a hierarchy system, and if you want to be higher up, you kind of kill off that tribe and then take the spot and blah, blah, blah. And they're set up to be these really interesting villains at the very beginning of this book, where you learn about the intricacies of their organization and what they've kind of done on this continent of Naitani. And it ultimately goes absolutely fucking nowhere. At this point, the Baron, who is now king of Markansas, with Declan, has decided to wage war on these Pride Lords for the raids that ultimately led to his family's demise. He sends Declan off to South Tembria in order to get the sand that they use to craft like the King's Steel blades, which Edvald and Declan crafted at the beginning of King of Ashes. Declan and this mercenary troop that he's a part of get ambushed on South Tembria, and they end up going into what is known as the Wound of Garn, which is this valley where it's all kind of jungles and things like that. They go through the desert and they almost die, and a lot of them do die. And the leader of the mercenary troop, the guy called Bogardus, tells Declan, you've got to keep them alive. And Declan does his best to do that, and he kind of becomes the new mercenary leader. They go down into this kind of hidden jungle thing with water and trees and deer and things to hunt. And as they are kind of going there, kind of wandering through, there's a split path, and this guy appears and goes, listen, don't go down that way, there are cannibals, go this way. So they go that way, and then nothing really happens because they don't go and fight the cannibals. The cannibals chase them, and there is a fight, but it's really fucking lame. Hava is going around kind of sowing distrust among the tribes in Naitani as part of King Jumar's, or Jumark's, I should say, ultimate plan. Hatu is learning from a guy that appears from Midkemia. We know this because of oranges. It's a thing. Go and read the books. That he has all of this power, and he can kind of do stuff and find people and master flame, and he's basically like this John Constantine magic Superman kind of character by the end of the book. So he's learning his skills. Harv's doing her shit. The Baron is leading a raid against Naitani. Declan manages to escape, get back with the steel, finds Edvald. They make a lot of these King Steel swords. They go and they raid Naitani, and when they get to the city, the main city, because they caused a diversion, there's no army there, so they basically just walk into the palace and fucking kill all the Pride Lords, and that's it. Hatu helps them out a bit with his magic. Dante is reunited with everyone. Yeah, I'm literally giving you the whole fucking plot of this book, and nothing really fucking happens through the whole thing. Declan is declared heir to the kingdom of Markansas. And at the end of the book, Hatu, Hava, and Dante get transported to Midkemia, where they meet Pug and his son. And that's it, and that's kind of setting up for A Darkness Returns. I wish I was kind of sugarcoating this, and I wish there was more to tell you, but there really isn't. I've pretty much summed up the entire book. This is a 511-page book, and that is pretty much all that happens. There is some fighting. There is a plot with a Dreadlord that is in a pit where the cannibals live that Hatu finds, and it scares everyone. And the more he uses his magic, the more they're afraid the Dreadlord is going to wake up. The Dreadlord, of course, being this universe-ending evil being. Hatu, without any training, goes down and puts the Dreadlord back to sleep. And that's it. That's all that happens with that plot line. So, yeah. That was Master of Furies. Wish I could tell you more. Not much more to tell. To be perfectly honest with you. It says war rages across Garn. It really doesn't. The one church plays no part in this book whatsoever. And we find that Ludovico is dead. And we don't know about any of the other kings or anything like that. Those of you that are interested in the number of books Raymond E. Feist has written based in the Midkemia series, there's your list. Go and read them. They're really fucking great. This book was well written. I like the characters. I think it opened up a lot of interesting plot threads. But ultimately, that's not enough to end a trilogy on. A lot of this stuff should have been in the second book and then kind of resolved in the third one, but it wasn't. And I'm not really sure why. Probably to set up for book one of the Dragon War Saga, A Darkness Returns, where we have maps of the world of Garn again. And not sure if we had maps of Midkemia in this one, which is interesting. But there you go. Not much else to say. Master of Furies, the Firemane Saga, Volume 3. Interesting trilogy. If you're a fan of Raymond E. Feist like I am, you'll enjoy it. If you're new to Raymond E. Feist, don't start with that one. Please start with Magician. Okay? This is the first book in the Rift War Saga, and this is absolutely phenomenal. Don't start with the Firemane Saga. Start with Magician. Move on to Silverthorn and A Darkness at Sethnon. Other than that, not much else to say. Stay safe. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Most importantly, read a fucking book, people.